the house. I said, yeah, there's a cat in the house.
Hello, human listeners. I am Supercomputer. You are listening to Cats in the House on P-O-O-N.
Welcome to Cats in the House. My name is Eric Davis, and this was the story yesterday.
Okay, wing the steal to the basket. All right back.
And this was the story last week.
Tied at 87. Lind with the ball in his hands. Fans on their feet. 5, 4. Lind for the win. Got it.
And this was the story the week before that.
Jeremy Lin, and you're a pretty big ovation. We saw last night in Boston, Jeremy Lin was the first point guard off the bench, played the first half.
But Supercomputer, what is the main story in this part of the country?
Hello, human host Eric Davis. Our top story is Kansas versus Missouri.
Damn straight. Missouri at Kansas this Saturday. Supercomputer, what would John Brown do if he were there?
He would free Frank Haith and his players from their masters.
And what would Jeremy Lin do?
He would try not to be the chink in the armor.
Alright, so ESPN actually posted that as a headline. So don't get mad at Supercomputer. Get mad at the worldwide leader in sports. And we're going to have more on Jeremy Lin later, but first I want to talk about some MU and KU epicness. I am joined now by my palios, Noah McKee and Alex McKee. Now all the fans are going to be talking about is the big matchup in Allen Fieldhouse on Saturday. But there's a couple of potential trap games for both Kansas and Missouri.
Yeah, you got Missouri playing Tuesday night against the Kansas State Wildcats, and K-State whooped up on them pretty good when they played in Manhattan. And being in Columbia, it's going to be a big difference.
Yeah, Kansas State, they're good when they want to be good.
They like to, if they can ugly up the game and not get caught in a track meet, if they can, keep it in the 50s or 60s, I think they have a chance. But if they try to score with Missouri, I don't think they're going to last too long.
Oh, no way.
And I think Missouri's going to remember that loss they had in Manhattan.
Because Kansas State's had some good games. Like, even when they were playing Kansas in Manhattan, they played really well, and Kansas really did everything they could to try to lose that game, and Kansas State just could not close in the end.
Not a very good offensive team, but they are a very good rebounding team, and Missouri's a little vulnerable considering they play a 4-guard lineup.
Yeah, because they out-rebounded Kansas with Withey and Robinson, and Missouri doesn't have a front court like that.
Now, I know the rivalry isn't really there, and it's not going to be hyped up at all, as it really shouldn't be. But keep in mind, this is the last time K-State's ever going to play Missouri in Columbia, and last time I checked, Kansas State's located in the same state that hates Missouri.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't think they like each other very much either, so
yeah,
we can see some hostility down there.
Yeah, then we've got Kansas going to College Station and playing a Texas A&M team that just played them really great in Lawrence. Lost by 10, but it was much closer than that.
And Chris Middleton, their leading scorer, did not play in that game. And as far as I know, he's healthy and ready to go. So that adds an extra element. And they were up on us at halftime and really played us well. I thought there was a few minutes there where we looked vulnerable to lose. They've played us better at Allen Fieldhouse than pretty much any team has this year.
And you got to also remember with those Texas A&M people, they're angry that they live in College Station, and they need to take out that anger, especially in sporting events. They're going to be riled up, and they're going to want to win that game bad. It's a huge game. Their tournament lives are not really at stake, but they're a good team. They're very athletic, and they're fun to watch.
And since A&M decided to leave the conference and go to the SEC as well,
I have a feeling that Dick Vitale's not going to be broadcasting that game and mentioning that fact every 5 minutes, which I'm thankful for, but that is a big deal. Texas A&M is going to the SEC, and this is, unless they play again in the tournament, they're not going to be playing KU too much, and they got to probably be pretty happy about that, at least in basketball. Maybe not in football, but in basketball for sure. Now, assuming Kansas and Missouri do win these next two potential trap games, they're tied for the Big 12 lead, and there's a lot of weight on this game on Saturday. Has there ever been a bigger game between these two teams?
I don't think so, at least not in basketball. It's going to be ridiculous, the atmosphere in Allen Fieldhouse on Saturday. And Frank Haith's never been to Lawrence coaching, not as a head coach at least. I know that, and I don't know if he's ready for it.
Because the difference with this is, in football, there's been a couple big games a couple years ago, but those are at Arrowhead.
Yeah.
This is in Lawrence, Kansas.
Yeah, the intensity is always ramped up when it's on campus, and I don't think you could write a better script for the last scheduled meeting between the two.
And I have a feeling they're going to meet again,
Yeah.
whether it's even in the big tournament or the Big 12 tournament that's even sooner. They're going to play again.
Mm-hmm. But for now, KU-MU for the last time in Allen Fieldhouse, it's about as good as it gets.
You know what would be the worst is if it goes up there and like KU or MU wins and then they lose their last two games or something like that and then they lose the title, because this really feels like the championship.
Yeah, I think some people are almost looking at the game as if it's the only one we have left. And
that's a bad attitude.
Yeah.
There's a lot of college basketball left.
And I think one thing that people are going to focus on during the game is the fact that Jeff Withey, who scored 0 points in Columbia, 0 for 1 shooting,
Seems almost impossible to believe.
has been on a tear. Absolutely incredible play since that game. Maybe the best player in the nation.
Yeah, especially one of the best centers in the nation for sure, if not the best.
Hey, you think he has a little extra incentive for this game?
And Marcus Denman in Missouri has just been absolutely sensational, too, these last couple games.
He kind of came out of a slump during that game
Absolutely.
against KU. And
He's been shooting lights out.
It's going to be one of those games that is going to be emotional, and no matter what happens, even if a KU lost, it's probably going to be one of the greatest games that has been between the two teams.
Kind of feeling a letdown. I just don't think Missouri can come into Allen Fieldhouse and keep up with KU. I just think it's just too much energy, too much passion, and especially after that meltdown, I'm really not expecting a great game, even though the hype is going to make it the biggest game of the year.
It reminds me of the game back in 2009, the year that Missouri ended up going to the Elite Eight, where both teams came in ranked top 15, and we got out to about a 20-5 lead and just put it on them the whole game.
Now, don't get me wrong, I feel like Missouri might be the better team this year, but I just think Kansas has got this game. They almost had them in Columbia, and I think they're going to get them in Lawrence, and I think Missouri's going to probably go further than Kansas in the tournament. When I watch Kansas play, this is a team that I think could easily lose in the second or third round to some mid-American team that can shoot just decently.
Some cornbread-fed boys.
Yeah, with a bunch of buzz-cut, neo-Nazi-looking kids just light us up.
And the number one recruit, Shabazz Muhammad, just a beast power forward from Las Vegas, will be in Allen Fieldhouse for the game. And I can't think of a better atmosphere to throw a recruit into.
If that does not sound like KU, I have no idea what will. And when we get back, we're going to talk about why the NBA and the NFL seasons have been mere images of each other after these commercials.
You're listening to Cats in the House on PWON.
Here at Cowboy Dairy, we sure know the moments in life that count. Fixing that old fence your pa built, or taking your boy to his first Cowboys game. How about watching your daughter's secondary sexual characteristics start to come in, or scaring away all the black people in your neighborhood? And don't forget the new chocolate butternut slop from your pals at Cowboy Dairy. Because at Cowboy Dairy, we understand.
Hello, friends. This is Eric Davis from your favorite show, Cats in the House, and I want to talk to you today about a very important issue. Every single day, children are dying of preventable diseases. Animals that don't taste good are being abused and murdered. And since 2006, Nicolas Cage has made on average 3.8 completely unwatchable movies a year. But with your help, we can stop Nicolas Cage from destroying any more of our brain cells. If you make a donation to stopnicolascage.org, your money will go straight to his pocket, so he doesn't feel the need to humiliate himself any further on the silver screen. You will also receive a handwritten thank you letter from Nicolas Cage himself and monthly updates assuring you that he is not going to make any more Ghost Rider movies. The future is in your hands, America, and with your help, we can stop Nicolas Cage once and for all. So please, if you have any interest in helping the less fortunate, visit stopnicolascage.org today. Thank you. God bless.
Welcome back, human listeners. You are listening to Cats in the House.
Hey, we're back. And I alluded to earlier that we've been seeing a lot of similarities between the NFL and the NBA. They're both coming out of lockouts, and right now they're both having huge years rating-wise and interest-wise. And, I mean, obviously the biggest comparison that everyone is noticing is the Tebow story and the Jeremy Lin story. But the other similarity is there's a lot of players right now not getting credit because of just being overshadowed by these transcendent figures. And it was the year of the quarterback, and I really think it's the year of the point guard this season in the NBA.
And the way that Jeremy Lin is kind of swept across the nation is similar to what Tebow was doing middle of the season when he started, starting games for the Broncos. But one of the big differences is he came out of nowhere. Tebow had won a Heisman, won a championship.
He's more like Victor Cruz, or even go back further to Kurt Warner, where did this guy come from? Noah, who do you like this year besides Jeremy Lin? Because there's a lot of great point guard play.
There's a lot, but one guy who I've really noticed is Tony Parker. He's a guy who's won 2 rings. He's been a Finals MVP. He's played at a very high level for years now, and it's almost like the Spurs just bore people because they don't really talk about him. Tim Duncan's the big fundamental, and they're really under the radar. They're the 3 seed,
and they've been around forever.
Yeah, and they're kind of the team that people are just like, oh yeah, them again. Do we really have to watch the Spurs?
And I think there's plenty of up and coming point guards that have terrific talent, and of course they're not winning games right now, so they're not going to be talked about. The Ricky Rubio, John Wall, Tyreek Evans, great young point guards that soon should be talked about the way Lin is.
Yeah, the casual fan, I would say, the stat they care the most about is winning, is the win and loss record right now. So yeah, Ricky Rubio, I mean, even though the Knicks and T-Wolves records are pretty similar, Ricky Rubio he's got so much more talent than Jeremy Lin, but he just doesn't have that magic. He's not winning these big games in the last second. He's not really quite the scorer that Jeremy Lin is. He's one guy who I am just so excited about. I would buy his jersey. I just feel weird buying jerseys from players who are younger than me. I don't know what it is about that. Just kind of odd.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Rubio, even though he does have some talent surrounding him, he's got Love and Beasley and the rookie Derek Williams. It's just what Lin has done with going onto a team where they weren't winning games and they had superstars, and then the superstars are hurt or out, and he comes in and starts winning. And that's a big difference.
That's another, like with Lin and Tebow, is if you look at the overall record of the team, not that impressive. They're both about 500, but both them, if you look at the record once they've been starters, is very
of course.
Good.
Yeah, Rubio's played the whole year, but another point guard who's been winning is Chris Paul. And what he's done with the Clippers, they're probably the most exciting team in basketball, aside from the Miami Heat. We're just not going to even talk about them because they are just so awesome. They just put a beating on Orlando, another team that's been great this year. But Blake Griffin, where's Blake's sanity? Because he has been playing lights out, and he's been so much fun to watch, and Chris Paul's just a great fit for the Clippers, and they just get better and better every week.
Yeah, Chauncey Billups tore his Achilles, and they seem to really not miss a step there, even though they had good depth at the point guard position with Mo Williams and another guy from Villanova.
Oh, yes, Randy Foye, drafted the same year as Brandon Roy. He's coming on late.
Teammates with Kyle Lowry, who's got the Rockets doing excellent. 5th place in the West right now.
Yeah, he might be the most exciting new point guard. I mean, just the buzz around him, and Houston's not as big of or as exciting as a market as New York is, but he's been pretty spectacular.
I say Houston might have the 2 most underrated players with Kyle Lowry and Kevin Martin. Nobody talks about them, but they are very good.
But the point is that the NFL post-lockout, it did not lose a step. It just keeps on getting bigger. I feel like this year the NBA is more exciting than ever, and that's a big reason because of Jeremy Lin. And this shortened season, I think, is great for it. The games just feel so much more meaningful, and the season's going by quicker. It feels like a big deal when you miss a game. And I've never feel that way in the NBA. It's like, it's college basketball season, and then after March Madness, I'll start paying attention when the playoffs start rolling around, and this drags on forever and ever. I really like this 66-game season.
Yeah, I don't know how much the players are enjoying having to play 4 games in 5 days, but
yeah,
I think that's the big difference is in the NFL, you didn't shorten the season and take games off and concentrate it.
Yeah.
They missed one preseason game, and really the negatives that came out of it were, players getting injured with pulled hammies and stuff like that.
Which we haven't seen in the NBA.
Not really, not so far. I'm wondering if it's going to happen or if maybe just it's a different kind of sport where you can keep in shape, in game shape.
I think basketball is more about your endurance and your stamina, and football is just about like resilience, I think, of your body just holding together. It's a totally different beast.
Exactly. In NFL, you have, countless number of practices compared to games. You 5 times as many practices as games. But in the NBA, they said the Heat, Spoelstra said they're only going to have like 24 practices this year to 66 games. That's not a very good ratio.
What I think is I like the amount of games. I feel like they're obviously too close together. How about we take out a couple games, kind of spread it out, and make a bigger deal when there's games on TV? Because how many basketball games are televised every week? Like a dozen? There's tons of great games nobody gets to see outside of the market. Let's get more games on national TV, less games in the season, and keep the season the same length so each game has more weight.
Yeah, I think right now in the NBA, they do have a lot of popularity, and the more games they can get on that are going to showcase, obviously, young up-and-coming stars like Lynn are going to gain more and more popularity by the day, really.
Lynn has such a worldwide appeal, especially in Asia, that they're losing money when they do not have him on TV. Like the other day with the Hornets game was not on TV, and what game was on instead?
Was it Mavericks Sixers?
And that was a good game too, but just everybody was checking their phone, checking their laptop, looking at the bottom ticker. That's the game everybody wanted to watch. And the fact that they couldn't watch both games at the same time is just a tragedy.
Maybe the NBA should do like what college football does and not make the entire national TV schedule before the year, where they wait to see which teams are doing good and to see which, who the fans want to watch before they decide who to put on TV.
Absolutely.
And I think what you might see is down the road when the Knicks have a good game that isn't going to be on TV, it's going to be like the most illegally downloaded or illegally watched game on the internet.
And I don't think that's not necessarily a bad thing. The NBA has hype and interest it has not had in years and years. And I can't wait to see some of the ratings for these games because they just have to be through the roof. And this is exactly what the NBA needed. I mean, Tebow was great for the NFL. He quarterbacked some of the highest rated games of the year. But, the NFL's doing fine. The NBA needed Jeremy Lin so bad. And, and the media needs him too, but what is the deal with them? It's like they've never seen an Asian person before. It's like they don't know what to do, what to say, and I really feel like last night, Saturday Night Live, just nailed it.
Now, with all the talk swirling around Lynn, some of the discussion has gotten racially charged. We've seen derogatory comments from Fox Sports' Jason Whitlock and ESPN.com. The bottom line is the kid's a great basketball player, and race has nothing to do with it. The New York Post says he's Amasian.
Hilarious. I mean, he's unstoppable. He's like that sign said at Wednesday's game, Lynn is the Knicks' good fortune.
He's sweet, not sour.
He turned Kobe into Kobe beef.
And Kobe's like, hey, I ordered fried chicken.
Hey, yo, what's up with that, man?
Don't say chicken. Come on, Joe. Leave race out of this.
Yeah, and it seems like they're focusing more on his Asian American ethnicity rather than some of the incredible numbers he's putting up, like that he's scored more points than any other player in their first 6 starts they've ever had, or that in the last 6 games he's turned the ball over more than anyone else in the history of the NBA ever has in a 6-game span. And something about that can be said is anyone that was turning the ball over that much is going to get benched unless you're doing what he does and going out and winning the game on top of that.
Hey, Alex, all he does is Lynn.
That's true.
And he's handling the ball, what is it, about 80% of the time? And that's more than any player in the NBA. And what, Chris Paul's pretty close? Mm-hmm. That guy's a perennial all-star. This is a guy who's essentially a rookie.
It kind of goes to show how much faith they have in him.
Well, heck, they just beat the defending champs, and it was a great game.
And now they're about to go play the defending Eastern Conference champions in the Miami Heat. And Thursday, that's going to be a great game. That's my what to watch this week.
Oh, I cannot wait to see the best team in basketball play the hottest team in the media. Noah, what are you looking forward to?
Well, I'm going to go with Kansas versus Missouri on Saturday, a game that, did you guys know what was going on? I guess we have
No, I think, all the Linsanity just kind of pushed it down.
I've heard a little bit about it, but the last scheduled meeting, the last meeting in Allen Fieldhouse for the time being, the conference title on the line, it should be rocking.
Now, I got two things to look forward to, and I'm going to pose you a question. Is which one do you think I should look forward to more? All-Star Weekend is coming up. It's got Jeremy Lin, Charles Barkley, and Shaquille O'Neal are going to do their coaching debuts. And then we got the Combine in Indianapolis, and really the draft process is getting started, and I'm pretty pumped to watch both. What do you guys like out of those?
Well, I'm kind of excited for NBA All-Star Weekend for a couple reasons. The All-Star game itself, not at all. The rookie-sophomore game, kind of.
Can't wait to see our boy Markieff.
Mostly, though, it's the contest, the dunk contest, and also the three-point competition, which has Kansas great Mario Chalmers in it.
Yeah, lots of Kansas faces are going to be in the All-Star Weekend. Not in the big game, but in the other little things.
Well, for me, I'd go with the scouting combine because that's really when your mock drafts and your draft board can really start to take shape. And every year there's a guy who comes to the combine and just tears it up, and his draft stock rises tenfold, like Von Miller last year. And this year, a couple of guys to look for, I think Melvin Ingram and Kendall Wright are going to take this combine by storm. And it'll be talked about top 10 picks.
Yeah. And everybody wants to see someone like Tannehill or Foles throw the ball. These guys who are trying to separate themselves, like Whedon in this quarterback thing, because it's Griffin, Luck, and you assume they're not going to throw the ball. No. And then a lot of question marks.
And naturally, as Chiefs fans, we're always looking forward to the draft.
Oh, that's our Super Bowl.
And last year, you also had Julio Jones, who went way up in draft stock during the combine, and Ryan Kerrigan, and there's going to be players like that who kind of just, make a lot more money.
I just cannot wait to start talking football again. Basketball's been fun, but the NFL offseason is one of my favorite things. Thank you so much for joining us this week. And we really, really, really do not need any more cats.
I want dogs.
Meow.
Ending transmission in 3, 2, 1.